With you, how does Haskins fit into Washington's plan?
I believe he fits well into what they're trying to do. They've drafted a lot of players. University of Alabama defensive line. They got players on that defense. I just believe with their offensive line, their ability to run the ball with a couple different running backs. I believe that Jay Gruden has done some good things with less personnel than a lot of people. Last year, he had Alex Smith, and this team off to a fabulous start before Alex Smith and that offensive line was devastated. So this is Haskins the best fit for him. Now, coming out of high school, he wanted to play football in Maryland. So he could have played all his football in Maryland. He was committed to Maryland. And then the mighty Ohio State came in and gave him an offer after seeing that, man, he's a lot better. He's developed. But Ohio State recruited over him. Man, we had Tate Martell from Vegas going to come in and be the next starter after JT. So this is not new. When you go to a big program, it's about competition. The NFL, the draft, it's just lane assignments. Ain't nobody won the race. Kyler didn't win the 200 meters. Daniel Jones didn't win the 200. They just lane assignments. Now, he don't have the best lane assignment, but he might have, from a comfort level, being right down the street from where he was born and raised, he's going to have the type of support. And regardless if you're the first pick or the last pick, you need to stay motivated in the NFL, because you need to know that they are trying to replace you from every day that they sign you on until you retire.
The only reason that, the only negative as far as his lane assignment, so to speak, is the reports that Jay Gruden didn't want him, and that this was done by the owner. And if you get to a team where the head coach is not on board with you, that can make things more difficult. I hope those reports aren't true, and if they are true, I hope Dwayne Haskins can win him over, because here's what I know about Haskins. I think he is in a good spot, not because he's from Maryland, because before they got hurt, Brandon Scherf, Morgan Moses, and Trent Williams, that's 3/5 of a great offensive line. That you can cover up for Eric Flowers being your left guard when you have that offensive line. I like Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen and their players on defense. That defense played statistically really well until their offense died when all the injuries. Now all of a sudden the defense on the field 35 minutes per game. And the only knock on Haskins people could come up with, other than lack of experience, was people said lack of maturity and a lack of ability to fully comprehend an NFL offense. That's not what I saw. And when they say lack of maturity, what about the fact of what a great teammate he was sitting behind JT Barrett, who he was better than?
Listen, man, people try to justify what the picks are. There is no way on God's green earth that the Duke Blue Devils are running a more sophisticated offense than Ryan Day and Ohio State Buckeyes.
Well, we
got 3 guys, wide receivers, that'll probably be drafted day 2 or day 3. So I think that when you try to justify the pick, you try to justify making an excuse for people, NFL offense, like, stop.
Well, that's the maturity point to me was shown when he was a great teammate behind JT Barrett, who I believe was better than, and I know a lot of Ohio State fans and maybe even alums thought he was a better player.
I told you he was.
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted to say that about JT. Exactly right. Correct. You were sitting there we were at the game against Penn State. You're clamoring for Haskins when JT Barrett's a four-year captain of the team. And then as far as intellectual capacity, which is a thing we only do to quarterbacks that look like him, Ryan Day I know he wasn't the head coach last year, but he's running an NFL offense in college football. The idea that he couldn't comprehend what an NFL team's doing is silly. Now, to the point we've been making all morning. Yeah, quarterback's crapshoot, so nobody's a sure thing.
Right.
But of all the quarterbacks, to me, he was the safest bet. And Washington, being disciplined enough to not mortgage everything to move up and still getting him at 15, they have to feel great about that.
Let me tell you something. I just can't go on without saying this. If Dwayne Haskins, as an African-American, goes to Duke and puts up those mediocre stats, 7th in the conference, he's not drafted day 1 or damn day 2. All right?
100%.
So when you start talking about a guy can't comprehend, that stuff is racial. All right? You don't go to Ohio State, throw for 50 touchdowns, break the Big Ten record. Ohio State changed their offense through Ryan Day for this guy. When I sat down with him, said, man, what are some of the attributes? He said, listen, Chris, as far as football, X's and O's, this kid is way above what you would expect. That was before we started seeing on the field his touch, his deep throws, and things like that. So I don't see an African-American quarterback that would have played the way Daniel Jones did at Duke and been drafted in the first round. And I
might not have been drafted at all.
Oh, man, come on,
And
stop.
on the people are going to say, yelling at their TVs, man, a black quarterback went #1. We might be at a place right now in the NFL where teams are okay when they weren't before with the black quarterback that's real athletic and runs around and does some things that, oh, that used to be a college quarterback. But this is a black quarterback that's not real athletic, that is just a drop-back passer. He's going to have to beat you with his brain and his arm. It's like, oh, he doesn't run? He's not athletic? Oh, well, I'll go with this 6'5" white kid from Duke because, I mean, he reminds me more of the quarterbacks I've seen.
I saw 3 series.
3 series in the Senior
fell in
Bowl.
love with him.
I fell in love.
Look at all the teams that could have used a quarterback. The Raiders, the Giants, the Bengals, the Dolphins, the Redskins probably were the winners yesterday.
I
Because
can't
they didn't
believe
have
the
to
Dolphins passed on him.
Yep,
I can't believe it.
And they didn't have to move up to get him. They was right there waiting for him at 15. All right, coming up, did the Cardinals make the right